Of course.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please. And I'd like to do the roll call, and I was asked to make sure I call anybody's name, so we're gonna go by name. Connie? Here. James? Here. Jay? Here. Janet? Here. Jeff?
Here.
And Jim?
Yes.
You notice all the J's went alphabetical. So everybody's here. Prior to approval of the immediate agenda, I would like to add an item to the agenda that I just thought of today when I was getting ready to come over here. And I would like to request that we add an item for transparency purposes on the clothing items that the freshwater boardways are wearing. I just want to have for transparency, so that way that's on the meeting, and I'll discuss it when we open it up.
Clothing?
Clothing.
All right.
It's not, don't get shocked, it's nothing.
No. I'm just trying to think how I'm supposed to say this.
I just second his motion.
I just second the motion.
There you go.
There, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Clothing.
And
Clothing.
then now you need to
Yeah,
approve.
now we need
the
to-
agenda as amended.
We need to approve the agenda as amended. Anybody? Approval to amend it?
Motion. I make a motion. There, I second it. Yeah.
Janet.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda's approved.
We're
Now we-
still working on this, you guys.
We're still fairly new to it. Approval of the minutes, we need the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on October 6th. And I'd like a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
And second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's completed. Public communication, we have 3 minutes per person to provide any, an opportunity for the public to make comments. And any statements I'd like to make while we're here right now. It's not a point for conversation. It's just a point that you'd like to make a statement of anything regarding the Fresh Waterways Committee or what we're doing. Does anybody wish to make any comments?
Edith's got her hand
We
raised.
have one online.
Anybody online?
Not
Hello?
here.
Yes, it's me. Sorry about that. Hi, it's Vida. Thank you for recognizing me. You guys posted the Fresh Waterways management plan, but there are 4 appendices that go with that document. Could you please post them on Facebook as well?
Sure. Is
Thank you.
that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Don, did you have anything?
No, nothing here. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you turn that up a little bit?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Old business. We need to talk about the invasive carp. And it's with James, and we'd like to welcome the members of the Department of Fish and Wildlife here to discuss some of our waterways, freshwater and the fish in the carp. That's that the waterways plant that we don't have any carp in our water.
Go ahead. Or Ken, go ahead and introduce. I don't know, can't remember.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, really appreciate the invite to come have a conversation today. The way that we'll approach this next portion of the meeting in terms of like carp and carp questions is I'll give a very brief overview of our history out here at Ocean Shores, some of our sampling, and then some of the history of the grass carp that are out here, and then open it up for questions and help think through anything that you might have some questions on. This is just the first step in us starting some of these conversations, so don't feel like when the meeting is over today that we're gonna disappear on you. This is just us taking our first step towards opening the door and having these conversations. So I'm Ken Behan. I'm the Warm Water Program Manager for the state of Washington. Before I accepted the role as program manager, I worked as the warm water team lead out here at Ocean Shores and in Region 6 for many years. Sampled Ocean Shore, Duck Lake a bunch of times and have already made a number of different presentations to the city council, the mayor, and then the Fresh Waterways group many years ago. I am joined today by David Cummins and Eric Kristan. These are now the and the support bio for the region. Region 6 is huge. These guys cover both Region 5 and 6, which is southwestern Washington and the coastal region. So when I first joined the agency, there were a number of different conversations that we had with the city council, the mayor, and Clean Waterways groups, talking about the quantity of vegetation and the impacts that vegetation has had, the absence of vegetation for some of our bass tournaments. So my program is somewhat unique in the agency in that we are specifically tasked with improving opportunity and diversifying opportunity to fish for warm water species. Warm water is this West Coast colloquialism that describes, fish that are not native to the state of Washington. These are things like bass, like catfish, and walleye. So our goal in coming out was to try to understand what was happening with the fish population, and we found that there were a number of different things that had occurred through time that kind of changed the fish assemblage, which resulted in a decline in the fishery and then a decline in participation of those fisheries, which has a direct impact on off-tourist season dollars. So the first couple of things that didn't happen is obviously you have two iterations of stocking of grass carp. Grass carp are a different species than common carp. They're used as a vegetation control. That happened at the behest of the city of Ocean Shores, with the first stocking iteration happening in 94, 95, and the second one happening in the 2000s. I'll come back to that because it's important to note when that happened, because there are some genetic consequences of those two stocking events. With the grass carp, they graze, but they're somewhat indiscriminate. They'll definitely eat the stuff that you don't like having in your waterways, but they'll eat the other stuff too. So it's very difficult to control explicitly what they're eating and in what quantities. And the city found that their rate of grazing did not match what needed to happen in terms of vegetation control. So in addition to having the grass carp that are grazing on the vegetation in the lake, it also, there was also a contractor that was hired to spray herbicide, remove the vegetation. I think when we were out here last, total vegetation in the big lake was less than 5%. So also during that same time period, there was an illegal introduction of a fish called yellow perch. Yellow perch are in the same family as walleye. They're a great fish to catch and people love catching them. That's why people, what we call bucket biologists, will move them from lakes to lake to fish for something that they like fishing for, but in their backyard. The consequences of that is that they're very difficult to control, and without vegetation to act as nursery habitat for larger predators, that population just exploded. We caught 4 yellow perch one year, then the next year we caught 80, and then it was thousands. Yellow perch now represent the largest quantity of biomass in Duck Lake. And what happens when you have an overpopulated yellow perch population is that they start becoming mature at smaller and smaller sizes. So you would have a fish that people would normally like to harvest that's about 8 inches or 9 inches long. With overcrowding, limited resources, and very little in the way of predation acting on those populations, they end up becoming mature, much smaller. So then you have a population that's inundated with mature fish at 4 inches. Nobody wants to take those home. And so when that happens, that just cascades even further. The fish population is small, people aren't fishing on them to act as a control. And since there's the nursery habitat is limited, there's also not a predator acting on them to control them. So all of those things are happening in concert with the vegetation being gone. Then we started to see a lot more really thick algae blooms happening in the summer. With the lack of vegetation, there wasn't really a spot for all of those nutrients to sink. So over the course of the summer, you'll see, I mean, and you guys know this intrinsically, it ends up being pea soup as soon as the water starts to warm up. So one of the other things that had happened during this time period is that grass carp lived substantially longer than what the literature had recommended for their stocking. The literature said something like 15 years is as long as they would live. Well, here we are 30 years on, and they're still there. That gets me to the earlier point that I had mentioned about the stocking happening in 95. In recent conversations with USGS, they have found that the records of triploidy, I'll pause there for a second, grass carp are supposed to be sterile. So they are raised in a hatchery setting. While they are eggs, they are heated and pressurized to force another chromosome in, and that makes them something called triploid. That makes them sterile. But instead of putting energy into gonad growth or like reproduction, they'll put their energy into something called somatic growth or body growth. And you like that if you want your grazing creature to be grazing perpetually. So they're putting a lot of energy into getting bigger. As they're getting bigger, they're eating more and more. So what has been discovered is that fish populations of grass carp that were stocked prior to and in the years of 1995, their triploidy rate is substantially less good than what it was reported. So a batch of fish would go to the lab, they would test them and then say, yeah, 99% of these are triploid, verifying that they're sterile. Turns out that that wasn't actually true, that it was probably closer to something like 80% of those fish were actually sterile. Over a long enough time period, the ones that would naturally die and not reproduce will disappear from the system. But the ones that are diploid, if they're successful in spawning, they will end up being the majority of the population. So this is something that is a blind box for us. We don't know if the grass carp that are in Duck Lake are triploid or diploid. So it's a point of investigation and something that we'll want to look at in the future. That's kind of the very brief shotgun history out here. Anything I missed that you guys wanted to mention about grass carp? So as a product also of vegetation control and the yellow perch population, our bass population has declined drastically. So Duck Lake used to be a spot where people would come out during the tournament scene, and in fact had a number of professional tournaments, and those have all but disappeared. Last year we had 2 bass clubs petition to have a tournament out here. And when they were done fishing, they made a special comment in their post-fishing report, don't fish Duck Lake, there's no fish here. So our interest as an enhancement program is to help you get this fishery back on track. And there are a bunch of different ways that we can do that. One of those is that we recommend a rescinding of the ordinance that's in place that limits the ability for parties who are interested to bow fish and spearfish for grass carp out of Duck Lake. That in of itself might be an exciting tournament opportunity, but then it also helps as a mechanical control for those populations. In addition, there's a secondary benefit because in conversations with USGS, we've been able to identify a protocol where we can take flesh plugs from those fish and then validate whether they're triploid or diploid. And depending on what we find, that might change the story for how we approach control of grass carp in Duck Lake. For example, if they are diploid, it kind of changes the story for us, and it becomes something that we really need, like there's an immediacy to deal with it. If they are triploid and they end up all being triploid, then eventually they will naturally perish. But again, they've persisted for 30 years and they were supposed to go. Any other pieces, gents? So at this point, we're happy to take questions or like seed conversation and take it however you want to go. Maybe. If you want, go ahead.
It's not. Well, one of the things you mentioned was the ordinance. We've had that researched, and what was the word on that? That it's
They're working through it.
They're still working through it, but it's the police are not enforcing it because it's not enforceable the way the ordinance was written.
Yeah. So one of
these bow fishing or spear fishing, the police said they will not go after them or charge them or do anything.
Okay, that's interesting because from our perspective, we thought potentially there might be like a legal challenge there if someone was participating in it and they did get ticketed.
Yep.
Regardless, if we're working towards rescinding it, I think that's one of the first steps you can make. And
That's one of the things we're doing.
Yeah, we are working on rescinding that, just what was added back when. But outside of the carp, just like that aspect of it, because we all know what the carp is like, they're damaging the lake, bottom line. So, but when you talked about the vegetation, like which one of you guys does the vegetation? How do we get that back? How do we get the vegetation back? And how do we find out how much vegetation we currently have in the lake Is it different than 5%? Last time y'all were out here, is it less? Is it more?
So when we were here last, the company that was providing the herbicidal treatments was also tasked with measuring the quantity of vegetation that exists out here. And so they reported at the time that it was less than 5%, which was their targeted goal. And they were reporting it to say that they had achieved what they were contracted to do. It's been such a long time, and I honestly don't remember the name of that company during that time period.
Yeah.
The one that we had before. and
Yeah.
then passed away or something. That's-
Did Herrera outline that? I'll have to look.
I think it's.
But Herrera did,
Remember me for a
Herrera
minute?
did the last.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Or doesn't do treatment, they just.
Sure.
But we also have the capability to measure the vegetation in the lake. The trick being that there are species that you are kind of tasked with having to get rid of, Elodea, milfoil, those are species that are classified as noxious and they have to be dealt with. We would recommend for maintenance of a fishery anywhere between 30 and 40% vegetation cover. So less than 5%, and what I call the big lake, so not the canal system, is what we would typically try to target as adequate nursery habitat for those fish. What you can do is there are a number of different freshwater aquatic nurseries, and you can purchase native species of aquatic vegetation and replant and move them towards a position where they are out competing the non-native species. It's a much broader, much more complex conversation because there are a number of different things that we would want to look at holistically for recovery of the fish population altogether.
I feel like it's a conversation that we absolutely have to have, but we know we have to start at 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say, let's don't get ahead of ourselves, but I think we need to really be thinking about this.
Yeah.
But I feel, and I think the rest of the team feels the same way. The first thing we have to do is get rid of those damn carp. Now, can I ask you?
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Okay.
No questions.
Does anybody have any idea how many carp are here?
Well, that is a product of whether or not
A lot.
it's a lot.
A lot.
It's a product of whether they are in fact triploid or diploid, because if they're triploid, then we have a discrete count of how many fish were introduced. If they are diploid, it's a black box and we're not.
But like you said, if you're successful in eliminating 80%, but the 20% that are left,
Correct.
they will repopulate and you'll be in the same boat.
So even in a circumstance where commercial fishery is being prosecuted on a carp population, there isn't a time period where you are not actively suppressing those populations. One of the other hats that I wear in the agency is I manage our lake and stream rehab program. And that's somewhat of a misnomer, but essentially we use a chemical compound, we had talked about this before, called rotenone. That's, if you've ever watched Discovery Channel back in the 90s and you saw the tribes that were chewing on different pieces of like beans and they'd spit them into the water and the fish would float to the surface. This is that same thing, but at an industrial scale. And we use rotenone for lowland trout management. So removing basically all of the fish in a body of water and then planting out fry so that there's no competition. Part of the reason we do this is that our hatchery infrastructure isn't robust enough to handle all of the catchable trout. The other way that we use it is we remove non-native species for native species reintroductions. And so this is one of the hats that I wear in an agency. Even in those circumstances where we're doing a lake-wide treatment and our goal is active removal of every fish in that body of water, those are not 100% successful. We have a northern pike suppression program happening over in northeastern Washington. That has to happen perpetually. So the conversation needs to start at, this is not something necessarily that will be a fix-all. And removing the carp is an ongoing active effort from constituents who are eager to participate in that. And then also, if we need to institute some management activity like mechanical removal, that would happen in perpetuity.
But it is a significant step to to thinning out the
Correct.
population.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen suppression efforts knock a population down to, I don't know, less than 1% of its, what we've observed at prior, and we measure that inferentially. So you'll never, what's the anecdote? Counting fish is like counting trees, except for you can't see them and they're always moving. So that's kind of the trick with it. We can only monitor what our catch rates are. And if our catch rates are declining and then they are static, then it's indicative that we're doing a good job of knocking them down.
I just see mountains of fish that have been shot with a bow behind me, and it just seems like an awful big job.
Yeah, short answer, yeah.
What was the chemical that you talked about?
Rotenone.
But we're not viable candidate for that treatment, correct? Because the lake's too big, or is that the one we talked about?
It's what we talked about, and no, I wouldn't recommend rotenone.
Outlet to the salt.
There's an outlet to the salt, and so rotenone can't touch salt at all as part of the label. And the other trick is it's cost prohibitive. 1 barrel of rotenone costs about $1,100 right now. And for a lake is this size, you would need $1 million worth of product to treat it. That doesn't cover any of the regulatory compliance that would have to happen on top of that, which is a year's worth.
So we talked about in the open house, we had the open house. Does anyone remember that chemical that they put down and it stays on the ground?
Alum.
Alum.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could use here that would be
I
viable?
would reach out to the city of Camas.
Camas?
Yeah, the city of Camas has recently done an alum treatment. C.
CAM.
They've done an alum treatment for Lacamas Lake. Lacamas Lake is bigger than Duck Lake, but similar problems. High nutrients, high turbidity, carp, a lot of similarities. They've recently used an alum treatment, and it's been so recent, I don't know how well it worked for them. So I would suggest reaching out and asking about that. They'll also tell you about costs.
Okay.
And the one thing I would like to add here is there's a lot of moving parts to a problem like this. There's no one solution.
Right.
You can get rid of every single carp here. Well, I wish I could, but I could theoretically get rid of all the carp and it still wouldn't solve the problem. There's many things going on at once. The carp are resuspending nutrients from the bottom of the lake and bringing them back into the water, which is increasing turbidity and algal growth. But you also have influxes of nutrients from elsewhere, which, and this is kind of spilling into the Department of Ecology a little bit. We're fish biologists.
Right.
We're not algae and zooplankton and water quality experts, but I can say there's just a little bit about it. So that's something you need to understand. And there isn't a lot of where the nutrients can go out of Duck Lake. I think your canals spill into the ocean, maybe not even every year, if I read correctly. So that means that the residence time, the amount of time a small piece of water enters the lake until it comes out of the lake, that's called residence time. And the higher the residence time of a lake, the more concentrated everything becomes inside it, to include nutrients. And relatively speaking, the residence time in Duck Lake is long. It's like 1.5 years. And so you can either put all those nutrients into plants or you can bury them in the sediments. And these two things can help you together. But really you have to decide what your goals are.
And
That's
carp,
like the most important thing.
carp confounds the alum treatments a little bit for exactly what David was describing, because they get in and they can stir up,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this report.
unlock.
That the alum is just like a barrier on the bottom.
Yep.
And if it's disturbed, it's gone.
It's gone. Correct.
Can I ask a question? I don't even know if you'll know this, but do you know if it's legal for the Native Americans to net fish in our waters here? Or is that a city thing? I know it's a state thing.
They, can prosecute fisheries at their discretion, but those are typically negotiated during the North of Falcon process. And so if it's part of what they want to do, then yes.
So this is something where if we find out it's legal, we could actually approach them and at like, let's say the Quinaults, and ask them if they would like to come over here and net fish to their heart's content. And
Take care of carp.
So there is a similar operation happening in the Columbia River, and then I believe the Muckleshoot tribe at Lake Washington and can't remember the name of it doesn't matter. They have started to prosecute fisheries on warm water species as an experimental fishery for to see if there's a market for things like bass. But the same idea would apply here for carp. And the department itself also licenses commercial carp fishing, but that's for common carp, not for grass carp. So we have a few people down in their neck of the woods that commercially fish for common carp.
Yes, there is Vancouver Lake, right by the Columbia, has a commercial carp fishery for common carp. The city of Camas is looking into introduce commercial carp fisheries as well, but I will say this about the common carp. They are incredibly resilient and they have a very strong compensatory response to fishing. So because their recruitment, which is a term that we use for fish becoming adults, their recruitment is density dependent. So if you remove a lot of adults, that reduces the density and increases the rate of recruitment. So even a few adult fish remaining can repopulate themselves easily. They're incredible fish. They're hard to get rid of.
I understand that from some people I've spoke with here that have tried to fish for them now that it's legal to do so, that it's almost impossible. Huh? Not on a.
Those are grass carp. Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get them.
Yeah.
So,
So
Okay.
just real quick, back to Connie's question. She said 1, 2, 3s, right? I don't know what in you guys' mind what is the 1, 2, 3? Like what steps do we need to take and present to the city to like say, this is what we should be doing? You know, we're working with we're working with these guys here to spray and do different things like that. But from you guys' perspective, what is the path?
What is your goal?
I think the goal is to return the lake to a healthy fishery.
and
But I-
have bass fishing.
Yeah.
again.
Right, we can have the
Make it-
Yeah.
trout.
Women too.
I feel like if it's a viable fishery, then you'll be able to play in the water and the water will be healthy. The water's, if it's a healthy fishery, the water should be healthy too, or healthier than it is now. That's what I think. And I think that we're all wanting that, we don't want it to be the pea soup. And we don't want to have to be spraying constantly trying to catch up with,
Yeah.
taking care of all of the
Problems.
for years and years. So what is the path that you guys see? And then maybe we can look at that and then compare it to what we're hearing from the herbicide companies and then find some type of a middle ground that we can be successful.
Understood. So in my mind, you're already taking the first step, which is working towards rescinding the ordinance. And then that advertises to a group of constituents that not only, you want these fish removed, so you'd be inviting participation. There are a number of angling groups out of the Tri-Cities actually that have these really neat boats with these big platforms and they fish at night and they have tournaments both fishing for carp. So that's step one, move towards rescinding the ordinance. In concert with that, what I would call our step two is when we can get our hands on some samples of the grass carp, then we start working towards trying to understand if this is a triploid or a diploid population.
I sent that out last month in our meeting. I said, anyone got a carp, bring me a carp. So we're on the hunt.
Want like 5.
The more the better, more replicates, because I can take a number of plugs from an individual fish, but I want replicates. And
Didn't you say to catch them and freeze them? Is that
Yeah,
what
that's
you
fine.
told us? Okay.
Yep.
Catch and freeze.
and
Okay.
then especially if you see a small one.
Like less than 3 feet?
You know how
Yeah,
they're,
The ones we've seen like.
no, I get it.
How big?
Oh, they're huge.
They're huge.
Yeah, they're
Giants.
They're
That's a
typically-
small.
Oh, that might be a small one.
It's a small
That
one.
might be a
That's
small one.
one?
Some of them are
The
big.
big ones are like that.
Yeah.
Easy.
I haven't
That's a
seen-
small
I
one.
haven't seen ones like this.
Let the minutes reflect the various sizes.
You got the little ones by your dock, scoop one up.
If you see little ones and they're not common carp, that's very interesting.
Is there a difference in color? Which one would you say? Because there's.
The
two-
head
there's
shape is so
specifically
different.
No, the whole body. There's two different colors. I've seen two different colors on a regular basis.
Not that I
A
know.
light one and a
Unless
dark.
you guys know.
Yeah, they're usually together.
Light and dark.
Yeah, really, it's one that almost looks like a trout. But when they come to surface, they've got the same scales as the dark ones. They look almost identical except for their colors.
Do you see them together?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I see them like that too, paired up all the time.
I do a lot of them in my canal when it's
Interesting.
sunny.
Did you find common?
No.
I don't think there's common carp.
That's right.
Have you ever seen a common carp?
I've seen 3 dead ones. That's it this last summer.
You saw dead common carp here.
I've seen 3 dead carp in the last summer, this last year.
I have not seen a common carp since I've lived here. I haven't only lived here for like 4 years, but I've never seen a common carp.
And I don't. And
Have you guys
I
seen
don't remember
common carp?
running into one.
I don't know the difference.
I don't know the
Sucker
difference.
mouth on them.
I don't know the difference.
Yeah, it's a
Pointy
bitey
face.
mouth instead of a sucking mouth.
That's a good, that's a good.
Grass carp. That's.
There you go.
I'm getting my, crossbow, so.
Okay, so
I see in my.
So those are the first couple steps, right?
what's the third?
Uh,
After we catch some carp.
identifying a strategy for vegetation maintenance where it's not knocked back. So from our end, we can go out and we can map to see what the vegetation density is. That will be seasonally dependent. In the spring, it might be something that we can put on the books to come out and do some vegetation mapping. What we won't have is a ground truth on what species of vegetation that is. We'll just have we could potentially have an approximation of the density that we could extrapolate out to different species. If the current herbicide contractor is already doing that work, it's a redundancy, then we wouldn't have to do that.
Need to look into.
Oftentimes it's a component.
Wouldn't we want to have all of this collodion and all this stuff taken care of before we start putting in any other plants that we want to keep? Get this under control first.
I mean, I would say yes, except for this is a perpetual fight that you've been fighting for forever. So you can wait until that day comes and it won't come, or you can start
I mean, we
introducing.
can get close to it before,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If that was an option and then yes. That being said, it might be a better strategy while you're knocking back the noxious versions of those species to also plant the native species so that it can at least offer some
and
competition.
that won't, the stuff, the herbicides we're using to get rid of the noxious weeds won't kill the ones that we want to keep.
It will, it just depends on where you're spraying and what the product is. There are some products that exist right now that are species specific, but I don't think that that's what you've got out here. I think you've got Elodea and not milfoil. Milfoil, there's a product called Procelicor, which is specific for treating and removing that. It does a great job.
I think we're mainly focused on the treatment in the canals. I don't think they treated the Menard or Duck Lake.
Okay.
As a general thought.
The
So,
big lake,
The Duck Lake and the Menard Lake.
gotcha.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
They're treating the canals that lead to them
Mhm.
or come off of them, and then there's other canals that weren't other parts of the canals that weren't very grown.
Mhm.
And we ignored those and let the water treatment just flow down to it and take care of it a little bit.
Gotcha. Other steps for us, and we had talked about this. So in the weeks approaching this meeting, we had a number of different conversations, just talking different strategies. We would actually like to come out and if, let's say we can't get our hands on some samples, then we bow fish and we find them and we grab them. Or we start looking at potentially trying to source a predatory population that we stock on top of the yellow perch population.
Right.
That might be, I would want that to happen in concert with any sort of conversations with vegetation. Because we wouldn't just want them dumped in and then the money, time, energy wasted on those populations.
I know that the vegetation is important, but is there anything that is like, is there anything that's not natural to put down in the water for their habitat? Like,
Yeah, there are, I don't know how else to describe them than plastic spaghetti noodles or Christmas tree, right?
Right.
There's a number of artificial structure products that are available that can be put in to a body of water. There's a whole process that requires an HPA, is a habitat permit or a hydraulic project permit.
not an avenue to look down, or?
It might be worth pursuing as an agency, we are offered at cost those things. But that was not something that we currently have a budget to facilitate. The other trick is you really have to add a lot. So if you're just adding a few of those, it acts as a fish attractant structure, but it doesn't actually provide nursery habitat. You have to put a bunch in so that you actually see a population level effect of recruitment.
So each one is the size of a large Christmas tree. It basically looks like a main stem with a bunch of pipes hanging out of it. You'd need hundreds of those.
Oh, really?
And they're not cheap.
Okay.
So, and about the vegetation, there was an earlier question of shouldn't we get rid of all the invasives before we start thinking about repopulating the natives? With 5% vegetation cover, I have a hard time seeing how you'd get any better than that.
Yeah.
You've already suppressed about as much as you can.
And that's mainly the lakes.
Mhm.
You're not talking canals.
Correct.
Yes, that's what I'm understanding, yeah.
My understanding is they're trying to get the lakes and the canals all in the same.
Let's see.
But I think when we discussed it on the plan, you said that, I mean, we could get the vegetation away from the canals
We can.
as long as we were trying to promote the vegetation in the lakes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you balance out the percentages by not much here, but we want to get a lot there.
Yep.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions over there? I know it's a little bit different than normal, but.
Oh, we can't do it.
No, we can't? Oh, okay, never mind.
I got one more question on the bow fishing. You guys it made it sound like it was better to do it at night. Can you give us a little hint on how we should do bow fishing to where we could go do this?
It's very bright lights, look for structure. Most of the clubs that fish out of the Tri-Cities, they go at night and they pop in the shallows and the fish are sedentary and you can visually see them and then pop them from downtown and.
Go to where you know that they stay. I
know a
found a
few
lot of
places.
places where the
Yeah.
carp like to be.
Yeah.
Like the island on the middle of Duck Lake.
Maybe more difficult to facilitate from shore, but a boat would be good.
And I will say, if you grind them up, they're not bad. Try to get that out there. Solve your problem right there.
You say that there are clubs in the Tri-Cities that this is what they do. They like to do this.
Yeah.
Would they come out here if we do you know if they go to all different areas?
There
They
are
stay
a few
right there.
spots where, I mean, they go where they know they can be successful, right?
So if
Oh,
we tell
we could
them
be
that we
successful.
have an abundance of carp out here, do you think
We'd have to.
we could contact them and they
Yeah.
might want to come out here?
We talked about that because it's a huge, you know, it would bring some monetary, some money into the city.
Do we have
Something like that.
numbers to contact these
Well,
folks?
We can contact
find
them, but I can't contact them prematurely because right now the ordinance is in our
We
way.
still have to wait
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't want to put those folks in a position where they're, I know that they said they won't be ticketed, but you don't want to put them in a position where the potential would exist and then
Yeah.
it becomes a legal challenge.
Yeah, so as soon as we get that done, we talked about doing tournaments maybe in the spring. If we could turn this around, then we could have tournaments come in the spring because the carp are way more active in the spring,
Yeah.
And so then we could have a tournament come out in the spring, plus, that's gonna help with
That's
the
something we can discuss.
spraying and different things too. So it's something we can look at moving on, so.
So those are our first few steps. And then from there, we talk about, stocking largemouth or another apex predator out here to help knock back the yellow perch population. From our end, that comes with some continued monitoring, both of the vegetation quantity as well as the catch rates of the fish out here. And then we figure out what's going on triploid and diploid, and that sets up the stage for the next part of that conversation too.
Are there certain populations? I'm sorry. Are there certain populations that do better against the carp?
Of
I
like,
mean, we've lost basically
Yeah, predator,
all our, yeah.
Bears,
sharks.
people.
at this point that your most successful control mechanism will be people and age and time.
Yeah, but I mean, we've lost our carp, our bass, our trout and whatever, because they've just been overtaken.
It's just gonna take time to get that back. We
Yeah.
gotta
It takes time.
Get that to come back.
Janet, what's your question?
Well, did I misunderstand that you guys are willing to come get those samples and get that process started, or is that something I missed?
You didn't mishear. If the opportunity exists for us to come out and bow fish the carp ourselves, I think we would jump at the
We
opportunity.
need the ordinance rescinded to do that, or can we just authorize?
Hey.
We're not worried about.
Oh,
Your own boat.
then Can we?
Got a big boat?
Yeah, we're working on that. So
Done.
starting last time we
Yeah.
talked, that's when we started. This is the first time they've been out. But we're trying to see if we could get them one and take it to them or freeze or whatever. But if we can't, then, of course, we'll need their help to get one.
Well,
So
they seem like the professionals to do it.
they are.
Maybe they'll give a class.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea either.
One last thing about this, the competition between carp and the other species.
Right,
It's not like it's a direct competition.
exactly.
The carp are ecosystem engineers,
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing that here in your lake. They just change the environment to something that favors them,
Mhm.
and it just,
Away from the other fish.
it just so happens.
They populate to a point that they basically wipe out.
Mm.
What else is there?
Okay.
I'll share one last anecdote,
Okay.
and then before, when I first started with the agency, I was doing some creel work, which is where we are looking at effort. And it was at Summit Lake, and a gentleman came up and asked me what I was doing, and he started talking to me about Duck Lake. And he started tearing up because the experience had changed so drastically from what he had grew up, was in the professional scene. And he was so remiss that the situation had changed so drastically that the fishery that he grew up loving was gone. So one of my early career goals was always to come back out here and help you get this spot so that he would smile again.
That's what our goal is.
Thank you, that's our goal.
Yeah.
And you're welcome.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you guys coming down and talking.
Everybody that's on this board has property on the water. So we're trying to make it better, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on.
We have.
You guys
next one.
might have some questions at the end. Sure.
Next one is Go Natural Fertilizer, Connie.
Okay, I'm gonna keep this short because we're running out of time here. I'm also going to post this on our Facebook page, and everybody has it. It was in the packet that Nicole sent to all of us. What this is talking about is stop using a lot of things like the weed and feed and the heavy duty chemicals, because all of that ends up in the water. I don't care where you live in the shores, it ends up in the water. And it's also talking about this. I found this kind of interesting. In the summertime, they're saying only water your lawns once a week, but make sure you water it at least an inch. And it even talks about how you can put a can out so that you can figure out exactly how much water you are actually putting on your lawns, and to cut your lawns taller. I'm the worst. I want my lawn to be like this because I have 2 dogs and I don't want to have to hunt for dog poop.
Yeah.
But I understand what it's saying, because what we need to do is give our lawns roots more opportunity to grow and get tougher and get longer. And what we're doing is, if we water every day, all we're doing is we're turning it into a handicap,
Mhm.
because it's not having a chance to get thicker. Also, pull your weeds. You don't have to go out there with weed killer. Please don't use Roundup. I mean, please don't use Roundup. And I'm not necessarily saying that because of the human factor. I'm saying it because of what it actually does to our water. And that's where my concern is, our water and what it's doing, because it's putting phosphorus back in. which we have plenty of. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this, but it's the salt and vinegar and Dawn soap. The stuff works. It really does work. I know other people. Gemma's one of them. They just use the vinegar and actually our ACE sells the strength that we
It's a
need.
40% concentration on vinegar, but you use, a pump sprayer and you spray what you're trying to get rid of. So it's not like a broadcast
Yeah.
where,
You want to keep it really close, because if you're like me, like most of us, we have rock, we have grass, we have plants. And so you'll want to keep it really close. But I also put salt and Dawn in mine. And I find that it even will work on some plants or some weeds that are really tough. Pull those yellow things out. I let them go in the spring because the bees use them for food. And so I do in my neighbor's yard, not in my yard. But I have a neighbor that's a camping lot, and we take care of it for them. And so I let the
Dandelions.
thank you, dandelions. Sure. I let them grow in the springtime because the bees do like them a lot. But for those, rather than trying to kill them, I mean, like my neighbor's lot that's all it is. They don't even have any grass anymore. No, if you want to get rid of them, you need to kill them. But try this if you haven't ever done it. So like I said, I am going to post this on our Facebook page. It's got about 3 pages to it. It's pretty interesting. I have a feeling that most everyone knows it anyway, but we don't think about it. I didn't until I started reading this after Nicole sent it. And I said, oh, yeah, I remember some of that stuff and about mowing and the watering. So that's it.
And I had about 1/3 of my lawn had all dandelions in it and stuff. And they don't go down with vinegar or whatever. Because of their root structure, they're just almost indestructible. My buddy, who's a master gardener, recommended I get one of these poppers.
They work great.
And, you just each day periodically go out there and maybe get 30 of them. And I actually have a lawn there now. Because the dandelions are just gonna come back. So unless you use Roundup.
Well, but when I put this on our Facebook page, I'll put a picture of one in case someone doesn't know what they are, because they really do work well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they got roots that are long.
Oh, yeah.
I got something here too, to go along with that, where you're talking about with fertilizers. It's a natural one. And I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it's from Tacoma. It's called Tag Grow. And you can get it in a truckload that's mixed with bark and sand and stuff and use it as a top dressing. Or what I have here is just the granulated, pelletized, and it's made out of the waste. And they sterilize it. It's all dried. It's 100% all natural. I've got the paperwork here that shows the contents of the nutrients and everything that's in it. Perfectly fine, even for vegetable gardens. So it's natural. If you go up there and get it yourself, it's free.
Yeah.
So
Can you make it smaller next time?
yeah, right. So,
That might be something that
so anyhow,
I could make it bigger and I could post it
and the
too.
other thing is, if
What's it called?
it's called Tag Grow. Yeah, TAGRO. And the other thing is, if it's something we decide we like, Tacoma is so successful with it that they run out of it all the time. They're selling it all over. You can have your own sewer system here. Talk to Tacoma and see how you could make it yourself right here. It's just a
Well,
waste
that's a
product that they
city
can use
thought,
here.
but yeah, that is a thought. Okay.
Cool, thanks, John.
New business. The one that I added, I wanted to put this in our meeting just for clarity purposes and for transparency on the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board clothing that you see us wear with the logos on them and stuff. Those have been paid for by the members of the board. Each one has bought their own shirts. We've chipped it all in for the logos. They were not funded by the city. I just want to make that clear. Because someone said to me, well, why did the city buy that for you? The city did not pay for these. I just want to make it very clear that we are buying those on our own. Okay?
Thanks, Dan.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Bass Canal cleanup is the next new business, or maybe we can call it continuing business. In the back of the packet, there's some photos of a growth over the Bass Canal. And yes, it's pretty bad, but some of the trees are really large. And then I was sitting there looking at this and I had written up the scope. And we've had members here say, well, I'll go ahead and bring my boat and bring it down there and everything else. I admire that, but one thing I want to be sure of is that when we do this, that we have someplace to really put stuff and hopefully not on a person's boat, because if we cut something down and it comes flying down and goes through your cushions or goes through your deck, how do we repair it? So, okay. What, Jay repairs it?
No, Jay got into this with he talked with people.
Yeah, I did talk with people there, that live, I'm not gonna give you their names and everything right here, but I've talked to the people that own the property there.
Yep.
On, what's it? Overlake Way.
Overlake Way.
Anyhow, they just live around the corner and she's more than fine with us to use her dock and the property there to
Yeah.
just clean it up.
And the research that I did is the land right by the sides of the Bass Canal is owned by the city. So, I mean, I don't know how far back it is. I didn't do the measurement on that. But there's also on the south side of Bass Canal, on the southeast corner, there's a property owner building a new house down there. They've cut a road in and they've got an area that they've cleared back for their house. And I sent a message to them trying to get in contact with them that if we could use their property to go down there, we could actually even walk down to the edge right there and cut some stuff back and see if we can get it back and pull it back up to the side, that we can actually get the dump truck down there or something else to pick it up. I've got my trailer fixed. I could use my trailer too, but I mean, it's just a matter that I don't want somebody to be doing this with Jay, you doing your boat, and it goes through your cushions, it goes through your deck and everything else, and then how do we fix it?
Well, and the city also said that if we do that, and they're thrilled that
Yeah.
we're willing to do this, that if we do this, that they will also send a truck out. That if we use one of those sites that you talk to or that you're talking to, and stack it up, that they will be more than happy to come out and get it and take it. I understand the whole thing. My boat's out of the water for the
Mine is
season.
too.
It is. I understand that completely, and hopefully we're gonna have some sort of a cure for that one of these days. But until then, if we can do it, we can still
We
go
can-
on land,
We can go on the land and go on the side and start
And
doing
go-
some of the clearing down the sides.
and I can supervise, because I'm good at that.
You're very good at that.
Thank you.
When are we gonna get
Yeah.
started on that? We've talked about it for a couple months.
It's a date
We need
thing.
to get it
Let me drop up an email of when we would like to do it and get it done. So we need to look at, I mean, a lot of is weather and getting
weather.
cold, everything
Yeah.
else too. And working on the side. I mean, I've got waders I can wear it
Me
down by
too.
the side. We can pull it up off to the side. If we get it down onto the property, I mean, that's half
I
the
think
battle.
that Bass Canal area, that main entrance there, we could probably knock it out in a 2 to 3 days time period easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send out an email of what I think, and we can go from there. My wife's having surgery in about a month, so I don't know.
Well, and Janet would love it, because she lives on it, so she would love it if we could help get some of that out of there.
Yeah, I think I think we need to pin down a date, because it's the time of year we want
I
to be
think
doing
so
it
too.
right in the fall. We don't want to wait till spring and everything
Yeah.
starts. But now, we're gonna be doing it in the cold, so.
Yeah.
So
We
you're
just
gonna
need to-
get something out to all
I'll
of us.
email it. I'll put out
Okay.
some dates.
Okay, sounds good.
And look at the preference if we want to do it weekend, whatever we want. What we can do.
Sounds good.
That's all I have. It's got, now the next thing is reports for the board members. Jeff, Lake Menard.
Lake Menard looks good. I've been out there a couple times last month.
Great. James, Bell Canals, North Grand Canal.
Nothing to report.
I'm seeing a lot of floating Penny Ward, which is
Oh, yeah.
normal this time of year going by.
I've
I
been catching it with my rake as it floats by my dock.
I've
Big
had-
islands.
I've had a bunch on my shore, that I took out this past week, 4 wheelbarrow loads of Penny Ward. And just throw it in my trash, so. And Jay, South Grand Canal,
Pretty
official,
much the same thing of what you just went over. Doing the same thing down here.
Connie, Mid Duck Lake.
I have not looked at it. Sorry. I will get to it, but I haven't done it.
Janet, anything on Bass Lake, Bass Canal?
Yeah, it was pretty ugly. I sent a couple pictures to Becky and Connie and, I couldn't get out. I couldn't reach it. Full. It was
It's like
way
the
off
pea
my
soup
dock.
and-
Yeah, but it's been ugly. I mean, a little wind comes along and it's gone.
Yep.
You know, and it's back, 4 hours later, whatever it is floating out there.
Okay.
I think a lot of it, when I looked at the pictures, it looked like a lot of it is the pennywort seeds.
Mhm.
But she's also got some of the pea soup
Yep.
going around too, so
Nice swirl.
it's a swirl, yeah.
Probably something an artist would love to do.
All right, city liaison, Becky's not here.
So I am here on Zoom and no, I don't have anything.
Oh, okay, you were next. That's okay, thank you, Richard.
Becky's not feeling well today, so she understand, obviously. She said I don't really have anything on the agenda. She did ask that I provide an update. The stormwater rate study presented at town hall was a draft. The final version will include projects and potential funding options.
Okay.
I don't know when that's gonna be this time.
We have potential funding.
They're drafting.
I hope.
Hopefully it'll work.
It's not easy right now,
Thank you.
but I will do my best.
The feedback we got on them was positive from people saying it was, they were really surprised by how little the cost really was to try to do something.
Yeah.
The grant that I looked at wasn't for a lot either. If we chose that cheapest option, it would cover that. The other ones were in the hundreds of thousands. So that's a stretch right now.
Okay, Richard already commented, public communication, anybody in the room have anything that they would like to comment or say?
Now's your chance, guys.
It's just a chance to give us feedback, it's not a question answer.
The grass cart, the weed control thing that you guys use. I'm wondering how much of that chemical that was sprayed would enter the carp that we have over there, that we're trying to catch. Has anybody do a study on that? And if you're gonna go and analyze the carp that you guys catch, can you look to see how much chemicals are in there? So we know when we stock the lake or the canal, that when we catch them, that we can eat it and not get sick. That's my main concern. And then the other thing, excuse me, about the netting. I'm not sure how you guys net up here. Sorry.
That's fine.
But I was wondering if you can just from one point to the other, because I live on the Grand Canal, and kind of like, but we pulley or push the fish towards the net and then yank it in to see what's there. I have noticed there's something going on in there because certain time of the year, I have a symphony of froggies that do their croaking and stuff, and then they disappear, they're gone. I miss it. It's a nice symphony. And then, the other thing with yours, with what you're doing, I think it's awesome. There are a lot of people coming into Ocean Shores that has never been here before. And I was wondering if what you do, can you pass it on to the realtors? So they can give that to the people that are.
One thing we have actually talked about doing is putting together like a 3-page, like a folder. I don't know.
Trifold.
Like a trifold thing that we could actually give to the realtors, or it could be it can sit in restaurants or whatever, just someplace where when people, the tourists or new people thinking about moving here come in, they can pick it up and they can see it. The problem we have right now is we don't have a plan. I think we need to get something done before we start doing that, but that is one of the brainstorm ideas that we had. So I'm glad you like it. Thank you.
I see it all the time, on
Yeah.
Facebook, people that are coming in, hi, I'm new, and never been here before. What's it
Right.
like, and stuff like that.
Well, the Parks Board did it, and that's where it came, and I was on that for just a little bit, like 10 seconds. And so that was one of the things that I thought was so cool about what they did, and we want to do the same thing. Yeah,
And
thank you.
the carp, we use the Japanese carp. Sometimes you can eat those, the Japanese carp in Hawaii. Not only are they beautiful, but they taste good.
Grind them up.
Koi,
No, we don't grind them up.
koi is common carp. It's just colorful carp.
Yeah.
It's just as good.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
Phyllis?
About the bath. Before we did study on repopulating bath, and at that time, there was only one fishery that applied bass for bringing in. And at that, it was $1.50 an inch for bass. And that was years ago. And so they figured that they would have to be at least 4 inches to populate in order for the perch not to eat them. Is that still the guidelines of what they're going through?
Are we allowed to respond?
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to know that. I'll ask the question if I have to. but
I'm looking at Nicole for a
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, answer.
Technically, no. So I think the price that you were given is extreme overprice. It's normally pennies for each fish. We can get 5-6 inch fish for maybe 10 cents a fish right now. There are a number of different growers out there that are registered with the state and approved for importance in stocking. There's a number of different private ponds that are stocked with our permission, and those fish are purchased through these growers.
I was like, that was years ago, that this was called. It could have been that way back.
I think they probably have pretty good margins.
Kind of a little bit along with what Phyllis was talking about. What would happen if we put bass in right now? What would happen?
So we had the conversation around vegetation, right?
Yes.
So you would have an initial stocking of bass that might help cull some of the overabundant yellow perch. But then when it came for them to find spawning habitat and for their young to recruit, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that right now there's also a ton of competition with yellow perch for zooplankton and bugs, which is the food source that those fish would.
Our miniature perch.
Yeah.
So on the heels of that, just really quick, if I can ask, you and I've talked in the past about predator fish that we could introduce to control the perch population in the lake. And those are sterile.
Correct. So there's a species of fish that we use in program that acts in two capacities. One, it provides biological control, and it also provides a trophy fishing opportunity.
Right.
So they're called tiger muskie.
Yeah.
So tiger muskie are the sterile hybrid of a northern pike and a true muskie. And we stock them out in 7 lakes in Washington state right now. And they do a great job of knocking back an overabundant population of soft ray fusiform fish, but they will also do a number on perch if there isn't other food options available for them. So that's on the table too. There's a host of like regulatory work that we would need to do for something like that to happen. But
Okay. Any other questions or anything else in the back?
Do you want us to respond to the question about the carp and the toxin?
technically, it's like a comment.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Anybody online that would like to ask a question or make a comment? Not ask a question, I'm sorry, make a comment.
Vita has no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing from Richard or Don? With that, we'll go ahead and.
Wait a minute, did you have another question?
I just wanted to know, could we introduce those now? Like, is there a way that we could introduce?
There are regulatory compliance work that we would have to do beforehand, but it is something that is on the table approximately immediately. Well, let's have a further pause.
That'd be so.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and I request for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Any second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.